It's that time again, y'all. We are about to plan an entire month of Instagram content in hopefully about an hour. Or that's the goal anyway. Me and you and this laptop here together, we're gonna make some magic. I'm gonna show you the ins and outs of my content creation process, how I come up with ideas, where I go for inspiration, and how I plan it out all in a beautifully organized content calendar. If you wanna see how I actually batch create all of this content, particularly living in a van, then make sure you hit the subscribe button because I'm going to be making a video over the next week or so of actually taking these ideas that we come up with together in this video and turning them into actual content. So subscribe and hit the notification bell if you don't want to miss that, or if you want to see how I used to batch create a month of content in one day in my apartment at home, then check out this video because I did a whole vlog of it. Okay, so let's get into coming up with some content ideas. Thanks to Zyro for sponsoring this video. Alright, so the first step in my content creation process each month is looking back and reflecting on my content from the past month and seeking out audience feedback in a few different ways. The first way that I always look for feedback from my audience is not really in the traditional sense of like asking people what they thought. It's more so about looking at insights because that is how your audience gives you feedback on a continuing basis. So we're going to look at our Instagram insights, and then we're going to go into more of the sort of traditional means of feedback, including looking at my YouTube comments, looking at Instagram comments, seeing if I got replies to my email newsletter asking specific questions. These are all really, really great sources for ideas for your future content. Now, I get asked about this a lot from people that are early on in their content creator journey, and they're like, well, Katie, like, my audience isn't giving me feedback, it's just crickets. If that's what you're feeling, there's a lot of other places that you can go to figure out what your ideal audience is looking for. By the way, I'll just be honest, y'all, I'm parked on a busy highway on the side of a mountain today, so if you hear trucks going by in the background, I'm going to apologize in advance, but I don't think I can just sit and wait for them to go past every time, or else this will actually take us 5 hours instead of 1 hour. So, just a disclaimer. If you feel like your audience that you already have isn't giving you a lot of feedback, then you can go out and figure out where your ideal followers are hanging out. Maybe they're following other people in your niche. Maybe they're Googling for certain things. Maybe they're hanging out in certain hashtags. Go to those places and see what the frequently asked questions are, and then you can start making content addressing those questions or problems. Like, for example, if there's a really big influencer in your niche, you could go creep their profile and see what kind of questions people are asking in the comments section, and then you could start creating reels answering those types of questions or speaking to that kind of content generally. This is how we look for audience feedback. Okay, so before I start looking for specific ideas, I'm just going to create this really quick chart to make some jot notes of stuff that we find as we start looking through these comments. And then later I'm going to actually take this and transpose it into an organized content calendar. But in the meantime, I just like to take notes. You can do this on sticky notes or on a notepad or whatever, but I just do everything on my laptop. So I'm going to create a rough chart and we'll use this later on. Okay, so let's first talk about my Instagram insights because like I was saying, that is the first place that you want to go. If you want to see the full deep dive of my insights report from last month, then I will link that up here. You can go see all of my stats, all of my metrics, and I explain to you how I interpret them and what it means about the success of my content. But what we learned overall from my Instagram insights last month is that my most successful content tends to be informational carousels, usually talking about Instagram updates or Instagram strategy. Single image graphics can do really well too. This is one of my top performing posts from the last few weeks, and I think creating some more stuff that looks like that could be successful. Reels obviously always do well. They have high reach. They get me new followers. They're entertaining, so we want to keep doing Reels. And something that I kind of rediscovered is that like pictures of me accompanied by a longer, thoughtful caption, especially ones that give advice about being a content creator or Instagram growth, still are performing really well. I kind of thought the whole picture long caption thing was dead since Reels became so popular, but I'm still seeing some pretty good engagement on that style of posts too. So I'm going to make sure that I mix in a few of those this month as well. Okay, so with that covered, let's take a quick peek at my YouTube comments from the past couple weeks and see if there's any major themes that sort of stand out of what people are asking about. Okay, so I actually got a couple comments like this one asking about repurposing YouTube content for TikTok or Reels. And I think that that is an interesting topic generally. Like, how can you effectively repurpose content from whether it's YouTube or any other kind of longer form content platform? How can you use what you've already done and turn it into successful content on Instagram? Because I think a lot of people are kind of making mistakes in this area by just trying to create teasers or shoutouts when really there's a lot more effective strategies for repurposing. Okay, so why don't we add something to the chart about that? So I feel like this would probably fall under either creator journey or Instagram growth. I feel like I could make a reel that would be like 3 quick ways to repurpose your content. And then I feel like I could also make a carousel that would be like a more in-depth explanation how to repurpose YouTube content to Instagram. And I'll keep thinking about that. Maybe I would also do podcast or blog as well. We'll ponder on that, but I do think that's something really good to tackle. At this point, we're really just kind of dumping our ideas down in this chart. I won't necessarily use all of this stuff if I come up with an idea that I think is going to be more effective. Also, you'll note as we go through this video, I started this chart to kind of balance out the formats of content that I want to make, as well as the pillars, like topics of content that I want to make. But I will probably end up having more in my Instagram growth column than I will in my digital nomad column, for example, because I usually have more ideas around that, and that type of content tends to perform better. So this won't necessarily be a super balanced chart, but it just helps me organize my ideas. Another theme that I'm coming across in my YouTube comments is understanding analytics. Like this comment said, like sometimes carousels do well, sometimes they don't. How do you figure out what your insights mean? And I feel like I could maybe do a graphic carousel kind of walking through the most important aspects of your insights, like what metrics to look at and what information you can kind of take away from it. Another theme that I found in my YouTube comments, and I know I get this a lot in messages too, is batching reels. Is it effective? Do you find that the audios are already sort of off trend by the time that you use them? Can it still be effective? I feel like this is kind of a short answer because basically what I found is like, yes, it still works, especially if you are just creating stuff that genuinely is funny, even if like the trend is a few weeks old. So I don't know. I maybe could make a single image graphic about that. Okay, so let's look at my Instagram comments and see if there's any particular themes or questions that stand out to me. Okay, so I did post a photo recently kind of giving some tips about posing, and I did get some comments there saying, yeah, I would love to see more tips for posing in photos. I used to actually make reels like, I don't know, probably over a year ago, where I would show pose ideas for Instagram photos, and those actually perform pretty well. Okay, so those are all ideas that I came up with that were either directly inspired by questions that I got asked or just general themes or observations that I'm seeing in my audience that I think I could speak to. So that wraps up the audience feedback portion of our brainstorming. The next thing that I like to do is do some research and find industry news and trends that I can kind of report on or share to my audience. There's a few places that I always like to go to start looking for these ideas. So the first one is Adam Mosseri's Instagram. He is the head of Instagram, the app, and so he often shares like updates about what's sort of going on, like what new features they're releasing and stuff. I follow him, so this isn't really going to be new, like I see every single one of his posts, but I did notice recently that there is a new feature called the Creator Lab, and it seems to just be like educational resources for content creators on Instagram. So I feel like that could be interesting to see what kind of stuff that they might be offering. So maybe I could do a post about that. We'll have to see if there's like specifics I can really report on. Otherwise, I feel like it might be too vague just to make a carousel like Instagram's got a new creator lab. Like, okay, cool. Other places that I like to personally go for, obviously my niche, my industry, is like later.com's blog. So Later's a scheduling app. I talk about them all the time. They are a really great source for social media news. So I like to go over to their blog. I also go to The Verge, which is like a tech news website. If I just go straight to theverge.com/Instagram, it shows shows me any like news or updates related to Instagram specifically. So I'll just take a scroll through there and see if there's anything noteworthy that I could make a carousel about or something. I also will check out TechCrunch, another tech news website, and I can just like search Instagram there and see what kind of news shows up. And finally, there's a couple like hacker, like new feature leaker type people on Twitter that I follow. So JDM Wong is one of them. And then this guy, Alex, sometimes they'll have like discovered new features that Instagram is currently developing or testing. And, you know, if it's noteworthy enough, it might be worth a little graphic or a carousel. So I'm going to quickly run through those places right now and see if there's anything worth sharing about, acknowledging that, you know, it won't necessarily be brand new news when I share it, because this is for next month. So I'm really looking for stuff that's going to be particularly impactful or like interesting even weeks into the future. All right, well, sometimes I get a lot out of looking at these news sites and checking for updates, but not always. It's not always something huge to share about. So that's fine. We'll move on from that. Now, in addition to industry websites and news, a great source for content inspiration can actually be content that you've posted in other places. So for me, I could look back on my past YouTube videos, see which perform the best, and see if there's some main takeaways that I could distill from those YouTube videos into, say, a reel or a carousel. Or if you have a podcast, you could do the same, or if you have a blog. Now, if you're potentially thinking of starting a blog or a website, a great way to do that is actually using the sponsor of today's video, Zyro. Zyro is an affordable, fast, and easy-to-use website builder with 24/7 support. With Zyro, it's possible to drag and drop your way to a beautiful website in just a few minutes. And to prove it to you, I'm going to share 3 reasons why Zyro is the perfect website builder for you, while I show you how I made a website for my podcast, Creator Club, in just about 7 minutes. Start the clock. Number 1, Zyro is the most affordable website builder on the market. You can save hundreds of dollars per year by using Zyro for your website builder. Number 2, websites and online stores built with Zyro load super fast. We all know a fast website is a better user experience, but it can also increase the sales in your online store and help you rank better in search engines. And number 3, Zyro has 24/7 customer support. Zyro's friendly support team is always there, ready to help you out during your website building process. Also, one super cool feature that I discovered when creating my website using Zyro is that you can actually layer different elements. So you can add text on top of a photo or an image on top of your text. And I just feel like it gives this really professional, modern looking design that I really love. And I've never been able to do that before with other website builders. Ta-da! Here is my final website that I created using Zyro. I think it looks amazing, and it literally did just take me about 7 or 8 minutes using one of Zyro's designer templates, and it looks so good. And now you can do the same using this limited time offer that Zyro and I partnered to provide you with. Click the link below or use my code to get an exclusive discount and 3 months free and a free domain name for a year with any yearly plan. All right, back to the content brainstorming. The next place that I always look for ideas for my Instagram content is any leftover ideas I had from my last brainstorming session, or if I happen to come up with some ideas throughout the month. All right, some of these are going to fall under the Instagram growth category, so I'm just going to start filling these in under the creator journey as well, so the chart doesn't end up looking super wonky. One idea that I had was about why likes don't matter. That's kind of my tagline for it, but I've got some like screenshots and resources kind of comparing two posts' performance and why like likes weren't really an accurate representation of their performance, because I got a similar amount of likes, but one performed way better. So anyway, I think I would make that into a carousel. So why likes don't matter. I've got more notes on that somewhere else, so I can pull those. I also had kind of a fun idea. I don't know if this will actually shake out when I try to design it, but I was thinking like almost like a horoscope style little graphic that would be like what kind of trend reel you should make based on which Spice Girl you are, or something like that. I know that might sound kind of outlandish, but I feel like people love little personality test things. So if I had something that was like, you know, this, like, choose your favorite Spice Girl, that tells you what kind of reel you should make today, or something. I don't know. Clearly I need to kind of think this through a little bit more, but I do think it could be cute. I feel like this could be a reel. I thought of doing like an updated Instagram hacks thing. I had like one idea of something to share, which is like how I share a new like carousel post, because on stories, I find just sharing a post directly to your story, like it doesn't perform well. It's boring. People skip over it. But if I have a little selfie and then it's me like pointing to the little like, you know, first page of the carousel, then it's a lot more engaging. And then the way I make it interactive is I throw that carousel behind my image. I don't know. It's hard to explain. If you want to know how to do it, then stay tuned. Go follow me on Instagram because I'm going to make a reel explaining it. So I'm going to do like, we'll just call it 3 Instagram story hacks or something like that. And I'll come up with the other 2. Another main place that I looked for my like saved ideas is in my little TikTok thread with myself. So throughout the month, if I come across TikToks that I think would be something I could replicate, I'll just DM it to myself. So let me take a quick look. Okay, so I've just reorganized my chart a little bit, so I have like all my reels in one place, all my graphics, whatever. I came up with a couple more quick ideas that I can throw into this pillar and that pillar. I think maybe I do like to bring in some digital nomad stuff. We're just riffing right now, by the way. This isn't necessarily leftover ideas, but it's just stuff that's coming to mind at the moment. I think it would be kind of fun. I know I'm not like a van life account, but I feel like it could be fun to do a quick reel of like how we get the van ready to move or something like that. Or maybe how I set up to film in the van. Like I feel like doing some reels about how I create content in the van could be difficult to film, especially if I'm trying to film a video about how I batch. It's going to be the most meta thing ever. We'll just see how that goes. But how I set up to film a YouTube video in my van. Okay, let's move on to the 4th place where I like to look for content inspiration, and that is my Instagram Explore page and the Discover page on TikTok and Pinterest. The reason I like to use these sources is because especially the Explore page and the Discover page show you exactly what's trending right now, what's performing well for other creators. When it comes to the Instagram Explore page, assuming that you have similar content consumption habits to your audience, which is not always the case, but at least for me, it's kind of similar. Like I know that I have similar interests with my audience. So if I look at my Explore page, that might be a slight indication of what might be showing up on their Explore pages. So if it's showing up for me, it might show up for them. The logic being if I create content similar to what I see on my Explore page, it might just show up on my ideal audience's Explore page, if you see the connection I'm making there. Basically, it's content that's performing well for other creators like me and might perform well for me too. Now with the TikTok Discover page, this is more so trends that are overall trending on the app for like everybody. It can be a really great place to go to come up with audios or just concepts for reels. I don't have a ton of reels planned. I've got a lot of like graphics here, so I'm hoping that I can kind of go through the Discover page and find some TikToks that I might be able to replicate to create for TikTok and reels. And finally, the purpose of Pinterest is just to get some aesthetic inspiration if I'm thinking of like shooting any particular images. I probably won't go out of my way to plan a photo shoot this month because since I've been traveling, I've been kind of taking photos as I go new places. So I've got a backlog of photos of me like in the mountains or whatever that I'll probably use for my still images. But when I'm not just like in a beautiful location, then Pinterest can be a really great source of inspiration for a photo shoot. All right, y'all, we are gonna wrap this up. I've been working away here for probably about an hour and I don't want this video to go any longer for you because I feel like we went through the main strategies of coming up with ideas. So while I'm talking right now, I'm just going to share with you a really quick time lapse of how I schedule everything in my Notion content calendar. Basically, I'm just taking the concepts that I jotted down in that chart and I'm adding them to my calendar with labels that indicate the type of posts that they're going to be. Obviously, they're going to be placed on the date that I plan to post them. And I also have a little emoji to indicate that it is an Instagram post. If you like the way that this content calendar looks and you want to use a similar system for yourself, I actually have my Notion content calendar template for sale on my website. I'll link it in the description below so you can go check it out. It comes along with the whole tutorial of like how to use it and how to customize it for yourself. Hopefully this video was helpful or interesting to you, and hopefully you were able to grab a pen and paper and brainstorm some ideas alongside me. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or struggles when it comes to coming up with ideas for Instagram content, because I'd love to help you out. I could maybe make a future video addressing some of those struggles. Of course, remember, if you want to build a beautiful website for yourself in just a few clicks, then make sure to check out Zyro. And as always, I hope that you are having adventures and following your dreams, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye!